hanging in there. 18 credit hours, so you gotta keep up with that.
I remember those days.
Yeah. So, gotta get back and study a little bit.
All right, take care.
Yeah, great to see you.
All right, so what made you decide to go to Villa Madonna College?
You know, money. You know, when you're working and paying for it yourself, you think about what it's going to cost you. And at that time, it was kind of an interesting thing. And these figures are not exactly accurate, but I think they're pretty close. $12 a semester hour at Villa, $15 a semester hour at Xavier. And there was a cap, I think, no matter how many hours you took, it was $150. So if you took 15 hours, it really equated to $10 a semester hour. If you took 18, which was the cap, you know, it was a good deal. The other thing was, and again, Northern Kentucky, or probably not different than many other places. 14 people in my 8th grade class at St. Catherine's, 7 of them came here to college. 50%. That's a pretty high percentage.
That's a good number.
And then some of those same people, you know, I went to grade school with, and went to high school with, and went to college with. So there were 8 people with whom I went to high school, that came here. There were a total of probably 10 or 15 guys that came to Villa Madonna. But 8 of them I knew really, really well, and we continue to be friends today. But it was a commuter college. You lived in Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati. It's just the way it worked. But the classes were the fun part.
Yeah.
You know, if you've ever been downtown where the cathedral is.
That's where I went to high school. I went to Covington Len High School. So
that whole back parking lot and where you guys play, the recess area, I guess I want to call it, that was all Thomas More classrooms, or Villa Madonna College classrooms. Yeah. There was Cabrini and several other buildings that were just houses. We'd have classes on the first floor and the second floor. There were 2 or 3 rooms on the second floor, and you'd have classes. And you only have 12 to 15 kids in a class. I had classes as small as 3 and 4. I can't imagine any other place where you could have a class that small.
Yeah.
And they would have the class. If you were at Xavier, they canceled the class. If you were at UC, they wouldn't even think about it. So here, at least, we had excellent teachers and just fun classes.
So what was your impression of like the downtown campus like?
It was unusual and fun. Just as we alluded to before, the classrooms were all over the place. We had a class in the corner of the northwest corner of Scott and 12th Street that at one time had been a bar. I remember Father Tony Dye taught me history in that building. It was first floor walk-in. Well, one day we're sitting in class, all of a sudden the termites swarmed. The building must have been infested with termites. And they swarming all over the classroom, all over out the door. So we opened the doors and the windows and hoped they would all fly out. But eventually class went on. It wasn't anything we would cancel class over.
So do you mind telling us a little bit about the extracurricular activities that you were involved in and how those clubs kind of like opened doors for you?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I was a commuter student and I was paying for everything. So I went to class. After class was over with, I went to work. So I was not very involved in activities, although I went probably to every basketball game. I went to every activity, hootenannies back in the 60s and the dances. Went to every one of them. We even traveled. We would travel down to Union, Kentucky, Union when Thomas More would play, or Villa Madonna would play Union. We would play Berea. We would play Bellarmine. We'd get a bus. We'd all travel down to the game. So it was always a lot of fun.
Yeah. So how many people were in your graduating class?
I counted the other day, since we had the 50th reunion of class of 65, there were 167 graduates on that night. And I think between 25 and 30 of those were sisters. Women who had gone there, and most of them taking education, some were taking science, but they were going to be teachers. All those women were going to be teachers. They probably were throughout the diocese and other places.
So, how would you rate the education that you received at Villa?
Outstanding. You know, people always laughed about Villa back when I was going to school. They'd say, it's like going to high school. But that's not a bad thing. The classes were small. The teachers were accessible. It was just great. I mean, the experience, the friends we made, everything about it was just great. The education, I think. You look at some of the people in northern Kentucky, the movers and shakers in northern Kentucky. They're from Vilmadonna College. They're from Thomas More College. You know, the presidents, CEOs of organizations and businesses around northern Kentucky, volunteer and business. They're Thomas More grads. So I think it says a lot about what we produce here.
So what keeps you involved today at Thomas More?
It's like family. This place is just, it's part of me. My daughter graduated here from '87. My son Michael graduated in '91. So it's just part of me. It's part of what I do. I was, back in the '80s, I was the public address announcer for the men's and women's basketball games. And, just got to know people.